So yes. Hello everyone. Welcome to the GSDC Global ISO 42001 webinar 2024 auditing framework for AI. So welcome everyone. My name is Anjali. I am your host for today, and joining me is my colleague Ms. Setulu as a co-host. So if you need any assistance during the session, you can please do reach out to her. And we'll be having ISO 42001 webinar with these two amazing speakers. So Mr. Bevan Lin has already represented us on the topic of summary of 42001 and how it helps to manage your AI security risk and enhance your management of AI, which is already presented at 9th of July. So you can check the full recordings on our social. The link is mentioned in the chat box. And today, Ms. Mel Blackmore, founder CEO of Blackmore's UK Limited, will be presenting us. So she'll be presenting on the topic of how to demonstrate assurance and credibility of your AI system with ISO 42001. So let me introduce you our hosting organization, that is GSDC. So GSDC is we are a vendor neutral, vendor agnostic, globally recognized certification body. We are accredited by globally renowned bodies, that is NC and ABICB, and we are proud to say that we are recognized in Forbes and Tech Target as one of the top IT certification. We have a 100 plus certification portfolio. Also, we have certified 90,000 plus professionals worldwide. And GSTC has 500 plus advisory board of members who are also our subject matter experts. So they work closely with our team to help design our deliverables. We are associated with 30 plus universities as well. So for more information, please do check our GSDC website link mentioned in the chat box below. Authorized training partners, we have 100 plus training partners worldwide associated with us. We have partners in Asia, Africa, Europe, Canada, and many more countries. Thank you everyone to those who are joining the session through our partner channels. So you can check, if you want to connect with our partners, you can check the full list mentioned in the chat box. Our proud patrons, big shout out to our patrons for sharing this knowledgeable events with their network, and thank you for your support as always. Thank you so much, WordPress Hub, for covering our all social media events. Certification portfolio, as I mentioned before, we have 100 plus certification portfolio in our profile, that is ISO 42001 blockchain. You can see many other certifications as well. You can check the full list in the chat box. For this session, we are particularly focusing on ISO 42001 certification. And ISO 42001 certifications has various features. So lifetime validated certification, that is GSDC ISO 42001 certification is globally recognized and lifetime validated with complimentary upgrade voucher for the members. Secondly, learning resources. So you'll be getting a comprehensive learning materials, access to the expert crafted BOKs, templates, and case studies for practical and real world implementation. Lifelong learning, exclusive research resources. You will be getting unlimited access to the wealth of specialized learning materials and industry research. Learning flexibility, we will be providing you a self-paced learning modules. That is, you can study at your own time, on own pace and schedule, and the courses according to your preferences. Training partner channel, like our worldwide training partners also recommend this certification. If you are interested, please do let us know. And real-time live role play games, that is in real situation with the skills you have learned through the certification, you can play around. And lifelong membership, that is any candidate, those who are certified with GSDC will get a lifelong membership with us and complimentary upgrade to any GSDC certification. Also, you'll be getting a free access to all the global summits, workshops, and webinars, and many other events as well. So here's an announcement. Before we go further with this session, we end this session, we have a 15 minutes of gamification session. It will be held after the Q&A. So please stay connected with us till the end. And top winner will win a GSDC exam voucher worth $800, and the top three winners will be posted on the GSDC Wall of Fame. So stay connected with us. So yes, so let me introduce you to our keynote speaker, Ms. Mel Blackmore, founder CEO Blackmore's UK Limited. A big welcome, Mel, from the GSDC behalf. Mel Blackmore is a CEO, podcaster, author, and entrepreneur passionately advocating for sustainability, business excellence, and empowering organizations. With over 20 years of experience in creating, developing, and implementing a British and internationally standards, she is respected authority driving positive change and enabling ethical, sustainable, and business practices. As a visionary leader, Mel shares her invaluable insights through various platforms, also inspiring us to a future-oriented mindset. So thank you so much, Mel. If you want to learn more about our speaker, then LinkedIn profile is shared in the chat box. So before we go further, post this session, we'll be having a quick 15 minutes of Q&A. So meanwhile, during this session, feel free to put your questions in the chat box and we'll be taking all your question post after the speaker session. Yes, Mel. Now you can take over this virtual mic ahead.
Thank you, Anjali. And yes, and also thank you to GSDC for allowing me to share some insights into the new standard on ISO 42001.
Yes, Mel. You can share your screen.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
hopefully you can see that now.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Perfect, thank you. Great. So, yes, I'm going to be sharing some insights how to demonstrate assurance and credibility of your AI systems with ISO 42001. So it's a very warm welcome from me, and thank you very much for joining me. So I'm going to be taking you through some insights on ISO 42001, giving you a high-level overview, also looking at some real-life case studies of examples where AI has been used well and also not so well, and where organisations have been exposed to risks that has either resulted in them going to court or incurring financial penalties. And that will then lead me on to explaining in a bit more detail some of the clauses around the AI standard. And also, I'm providing you with 7 simple steps on how to implement the AI standard should you wish to implement that standard. Okay, so let's start. But before we begin, actually, I'll just give you a little bit of background into Blackmore's and who we are, what we do, and why I'm sitting here in front of you talking to you about this particular standard today. Well, Blackmore's, we're very much seen as thought leaders in our field in terms of sharing insights on new ISO standards. So we've actually implemented over 20 different ISO standards internationally across 27 countries, and we've done that with over 600 organisations. So we've actually been established for about 17 years now, and we've got a 100% success rate in helping our clients to achieve certification. So with that comes some impressive credentials. For example, we are the founders of ISOlogy. They're the 7 steps to implement any ISO standards, and I'll be taking you through that specifically for 42001 later on in the session today. We're also founders of the podcast, The ISO Show. So if you'd like to find out more about any of the standards, you can go to that. And also there are a few other pieces of information about our NPS rating. We're also the founders of the ISOlogy Hub. So this is a go-to place to get access to various resources concerning ISO standards. So let's move on to the standard, because I know that's why you're here today. So what is ISO 42001? Well, this standard is the very first international standard for artificial intelligence management systems. So we know that there has been a lot of controversy about AI. Everybody's using it, whether they know it or not, whether they like it or not. So it's about time that there was a system and a standard that was designed specifically to help organisations to implement, maintain, and improve their AI management practices, regardless of the size of the organisation or the sector or the location. This standard is truly an international standard and it's applicable to all organisations. Some may think it's just for AI developers. Well, it's not. It's also available for any businesses that use AI. So it was published very recently in December 2023. And actually, for the first time, we've seen a collaboration there in terms of the creation. I mean, obviously, a standard is created by multiple organisations and countries across the globe representing different standards committees. But this is the first time that the ISO, so the International Organisation for Standardisation, and the IEC, which is the International Electrotechnical Commission, came together to work in collaboration very quickly to establish what best practice is concerning AI at a global level. So the emphasis of the standard is on integrating AI with your organisation's existing policies, procedures, and structure. So this also includes other existing ISO certified management system standards. So you may already have ISO 9001 or ISO 27001, the information security standard. Well, this standard has been designed to dovetail, to fit seamlessly into those other standards as well. Because for those of you that are already using AI within business, you'll know that it is an integral part of basically all aspects of the different stages of your overall service or product delivery. Interestingly, a lot of the specific mentions of AI and machine learning are within the annexes rather than in the main body of the standard. And there's some really useful content within those annexes, which I'll come on to explain about later on. In terms of the annexes, we've got Annex A, which acts as a guide for management on the AI system development with a focus on trustworthiness, because I think you'll all agree that that's where AI, because obviously it's artificial, how trustworthy is it? So trustworthiness is at the core of this standard. Annex B provides implementation guidance for AI controls with specific measures for AI and machine learning. Annex C addresses the AI-related organisational objectives and risk sources. So it enables you to be able to create a risk assessment specifically for AI. And finally, Annex D is about the domains and sectors in which an AI system may be used. This also includes certification, and it also encourages third-party conformity assessment. As this is a very new standard, there are very few certification bodies that can offer certification to 42001 at this stage, but that is quickly changing. So what are the main clauses of ISO 42001? Well, the good news is that for those of you that are already familiar with ISO 9001 or ISO 14001, and for those of you that aren't familiar with ISO standards at all, that's for quality and environment. You know, all those mainstream standards are now based on a common structure called Annex SL, which is great news if you're looking to integrate additional standards because it makes life so much easier. Okay, so the common clauses then, we've got clauses 1, 2, and 3. And again, for those of you that are familiar with other ISO standards, you will know that they are not auditable clauses. It's literally explanatory clauses which kind of lead you into clause 4, which is the first area of the standard that we can actually then implement and audit against. Okay, so you'll recognise that clause 4 covers context of the organisation. And again, I'll come on to explain about this in more detail and on the implementation side. Leadership, so we need to have a leadership commitment. By the way, for those of you that aren't familiar with context, it is looking at risks and opportunities for your organisation in relation to AI. Planning, support, operation, performance evaluation, and last but definitely not least, because this is one of my favourite clauses, is improvement. Okay, so you will recognise these clauses as the core structure for any other ISO standard. Okay, so if you've already got ISO standards in place, you'll have this core structure there. Obviously, there are some slight changes in terms of the requirements because it is a different standard and it is a niche standard focusing specifically on addressing AI risks. So, what are we predicting for the future in relation to AI? Well, this isn't me saying this. This is based on research that's been carried out. It's been predicted that 90% of online content will be AI generated by 2026. That's not very far away, and that is pretty scary. I mean, I can say that, at Blackmore's as a consultancy firm, we are using AI. We've adopted an AI policy, and we've had training sessions on it, and it can be a really useful tool if used in the right way. Okay. Now, a lot of this generated content that's out there now includes things like images, which poses a real concern over the values we're translating to people, because the content we consume shapes the way that we think. And if all we have is artificial and it's not genuine, then this could lead to quite a confusing message potentially, and it would be obviously open to bias as well. So how will this affect open AI-led software if the majority of data it draws from is also AI generated? So how does this affect the quality of its output? So that I think this is going to be an issue that we're going to be facing over the next few years. And the other thing that we're starting to see, quite surprised it's taken this long to actually get here. But in Europe, for example, there is the EU AI Act, which was only recently approved in March by the EU Parliament. This is expected to have a global impact, though. So a number of EU directives, so the European laws, are then adopted internationally, and this could obviously potentially pave the way for future legislation in other countries. So let's look at a few of these examples then of risk in reality and what's actually happened. So some of you may be familiar with an organisation called DoCan. So DoCan are an e-commerce organisation, and they actually fired 90% of their support staff and replaced them with an AI chatbot, which caused massive controversy. So although it did result in 85% reduction of costs of the staff, it did cause controversy on social media, unfortunately. And that has obviously affected the reputation of that particular organisation. Canada are in a similar situation. They decided to replace support staff with a chatbot, but that then did result in a lawsuit, unfortunately, as its chatbot wrongly instructed a customer about some information, who was then subsequently refused a refund after following the chatbot's instructions. So, yeah, that ended up going to court, unfortunately, which was a bit embarrassing for Canada to say the least. Okay, so then moving on to another couple. Okay, so iTutor Group. So this is an interesting one. So in August 2023, this tutoring company agreed to pay $365,000 to settle a suit after it was found that their AI-powered recruiting software automatically rejected female applicants of 55 and older. So that would be ruling me out shortly. And I think there's still life in the old dog yet. So that would be a bit disappointing if that was the case, if women over 55 were just written off. And also male applicants over 60 and over were automatically rejected as well. So the US Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC, basically identified that over 200 qualified applicants were automatically rejected. So obviously that's That's an issue there in terms of equality. And then we've got Amazon's AI surveillance technology. So during the past couple of years here in the UK, 8 of our main train stations in the UK have been testing Amazon's AI surveillance technology using CCTV cameras. Now, the primary purpose of this was to aid staff and police about any potential criminal, risk-based activities. And also they were looking at how people were influenced by advertising as well within the train stations. But there have been concerns over the transparency of the use of the technology. So, if you're going to go to a train station and you're literally just going to get on the train, you don't necessarily know that you're being monitored from that point of view, which could potentially be an intrusion of somebody's privacy. And so there was quite a lot of controversy about the rights of individuals and how their personal data was being shared in relation to that. So it's still very early days with a lot of this AI technology. And obviously, where there are risks involved, there needs to be controls and governance, which there are lots of standards for having a robust AI management system in place. I mean, the main point being, though, is to demonstrate assurance to all your key stakeholders that you are acting responsibly when it comes to artificial intelligence. And also, I think consumers are looking for added credibility. So, how do we know what you're doing with our data? How do we know that that data is being managed responsibly? So, although there are a lot of reasons, I've tried to condense that into just 10 reasons for you today. So I'm going to take you through these reasons, and then I'm going to be explaining about how to implement the standard. Okay, let me just have a quick check on something. Right, yeah, so the number one reason is demonstrating responsible use of AI. So 42001 helps to ensure fairness, non-discrimination and respect for human rights in AI development and use. So again, it's not just AI development, but it's also how you use it. Remember that AI can still be bias-based on the fact that existing data sets will still lack representation for minority groups. And also take care in the use of AI over people. So staff being replaced by AI, as we've seen with previous court case and financial penalties, is a very real concern and should not be treated lightly. Okay, the second reason is based on traceability, transparency, and reliability. So information is sourced by AI, as we know, is not always correct. I mean, at Blackmore's, we've put this to the test in relation to testing it about different standards. And we would say that around about 80% of it was accurate, but it does depend on how you're actually wording the research. So it collates information that's published online, but it doesn't mean to say that that information that is published is actually correct or accurate. Data sets carelessly scraped from online sources may also contain sensitive or unsavory content, and they can also be used to poison any inaccurate results as well. So it's basically up to AI developers to ensure the safety and integrity of their AI tools as well. And 42001 provides specific guidance that does cover the key principles around transparency, explainability, and also samples of training data too. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Reason 3 is all about providing a framework for managing risks and opportunities. Now, AI, like any other new technology, is going to create new risks and opportunities. Risks include the likes of inaccurate data being used, existing bias in data training sets, plagiarism, and data poisoning. But also, on the flip side, does present amazing opportunities for businesses. So opportunities could it help to include improving productivity? So, for example, there was a piece of marketing content that I was looking to produce some time ago, and I thought, oh, I wonder what the Google Gemini says about it. And what they produced was absolutely phenomenal. Yes, I did amend about 50% of it, but it did save quite a lot of time. And it's great for research purposes, I think, providing you check the sources, of course. So, yeah, the opportunities help to make smarter decisions within a business and also quite often making quicker decisions. And as we know, time is money in business. So, this can be extremely effective within an organisation. And it can also help to reduce certain tedious tasks as well. I think certainly I've seen uh, using AI in many different ways. For example, from garden design to lots of different things, to be able to use AI creatively. But I think the risk for that then as well is that companies could potentially go out of business because of that. One area in particular that we're looking at, for example, is SEO, so search engine optimization. So you may pay an SEO expert to do all of your website search engine optimization, but there could be an AI tool that could do that at a fraction of the price, like 20% of the price. How good that is open to debate, but is posing a great risk to many service and providers if they haven't got a tech option as part of their service. So 42001 helps you to build a robust management system to manage and mitigate your risks and helps to drive forward those opportunities as very clear objectives and through your continual improvement processes. So I'd just like to ask the audience here, are you aware of the risks and opportunities of using AI in your business? So I believe I've got some support with Anjali. She's going to post a poll. So the question is, are you aware of the risks and opportunities of using AI in your business? So hopefully you've got access to be able to do that poll.
Yes, Mel. Just give me a second. I'm just doing it.
Right.
Hi
Okay.
Mel,
Thank you.
can you please repeat the poll? Which question was it?
Yeah. So the question is, are you aware of the risks and opportunities of using AI in your business? And you just need to answer yes or no. Okay, that's really interesting. I think we've got pretty much all of the responses through now. 100% answered yes. So thank you very much for answering that question. So it looks like 69% of the delegates that are attending the webinar today have answered yes. They are aware of the risks and opportunities of using AI in your business. And 31%, so about a third, have said no. And so thank you very much for your honesty and your input on that. I think, as a business, there will always be new risks, and I think this is always worth identifying as well as the opportunities. Um, so obviously, it's an investment of time to be able to take a step back and have a look at what those risks and opportunities are, but it's well worth doing on a periodic basis, at least once a year, as part of a risk review. Well, thank you very much for that. Right. Okay. So moving on then to the next slide. Reason 4. So, demonstrating that introducing AI is a strategic decision with clear objectives. So, I mentioned that it is worthwhile reviewing the risks and opportunities at least once a year. So, this is where we should be looking at it as part of our overall business strategy, and also the setting of very clear objectives for the year ahead, or looking at the medium to longer term as well. So businesses looking to integrate AI within their organization should not be making this decision lightly. Okay. Careful consideration does need to be taken, starting with understanding who is using AI, how are they using it within your organization. Most importantly, what is the impact of that for your business? Okay, so this needs to be taken into consideration in order to be able to make leadership decisions on the way forward for AI and your business. So just ensure that you're doing so safely and ethically and that it aligns with your business and helps you to establish objectives. So it does need to be communicated really clearly to everybody in the business what those objectives and the strategy is. Blackmore's, for example, we've recently reviewed our information security policy and we've added an AI policy in there. So actually, that's something I wouldn't mind asking as well. Let's do another poll, shall we? Is that okay? So the question is, do you have an AI policy? And you simply need to answer yes or no. So do you have an AI policy? Yes or no? Okay, that's great. I think we've got all of the responses back now, which is fantastic. Oh, we've still got a couple more that are answering, which is actually, yeah, quite interesting. Okay, so 43% have said yes, that you do have an AI policy. So I'm actually quite surprised that that is high. I think that is that's really really interesting. And 50%, 57% have said no, they haven't got an AI policy. Which again, I'm surprised that that's not higher actually, based on the conversations that we're having with organisations at the moment. But that's really interesting to see. Okay, that's great. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so let's move on to the next one then. So reason 5, it helps to implement safeguards. So certain features of AI may require safeguards to help protect your business against the extra risks that they pose. But this can be applied within any particular process or an entire system. So the idea for this standard is that you integrate those safeguards into your existing processes. Okay, so let's say, for example, if it was a recruitment process, how can we ensure that we are safeguarding against AI risks? Okay, so I've had an encounter where I've interviewed somebody where they said that they couldn't share their screen, and there was a funny image on like I wouldn't say it was just an icon on the screen. And when I was asking questions, the answers were there was a pause, but they were absolutely perfect and they were above and beyond what I was expecting on question after question after question. And it wasn't until we had an in-person interview that it was a very different experience and responses to the questions that we asked. So AI could be a great opportunity for businesses, but again, it could also be a risk. So it's worthwhile factoring that into every single process within your business, and that could take some time. but it might be worthwhile making a start on it if you haven't done so already. So example of features that may require these safeguards include automatic decision making, data analysis, insight and machine learning, and of course, continuous learning. So we know that AI has significantly advanced learning opportunities across lots of different aspects of learning globally. Reason 6 is that it helps to support compliance with legal and regulatory standards. So we are noticing that there is more legislation that's going to be implemented over the coming years. I mentioned earlier on about the act that was introduced just a few months ago. So it's important to ensure that you're prepared to comply with the legislation as it's released, both for your country and also the countries that you're selling your services to, okay, because there may be restrictions again for those countries in relation to AI. Okay, so you just need to be mindful of that. And if you've already got a legal register as part of your existing ISO management system, let's say for ISO 27001, where you're identifying the data privacy risks and legislation and regulations, then the AI requirements should also be going in there. This may also affect any contractual requirements. Okay, so we've got the statutory and regulatory requirements, but there may also be contractual elements that you also need to take into consideration. Okay, so if you're using certain services, people acting on your behalf or, providing information to you, how can you check that that isn't contaminated data or misrepresented information through AI? Reason 7, enhanced reputation. So we know that ISO standards have got a great reputation for helping an organisation to demonstrate best practice. And this standard is no exception to that. So any organisation that is looking to market their service as a reputable either AI developer or, in terms of information security, they want to demonstrate that additional trust and confidence to stakeholders, then this will definitely enhance reputation. So this would mean that you would be able to use the ISO 42001 certified logo on your marketing collateral, let's say a website, for example. So gaining certification to 42001 will help to show that you're confident in your AI-related systems and any potential claims, and that you're happy to have this verified by an independent third party. Another great reason is that it helps to encourage innovation within your business. So obviously I've talked about risks, but there are significant opportunities to advance your organisation at exponential levels if you're using AI in the right way. So as much as we've stressed about the potential risks, ultimately AI is here in theory to help to make our lives easier, but we just need to ensure that we're responsible when applying it. And the standard helps to ensure that you can safely integrate your AI tools and systems within your business. So it's there to help with the adoption of this new tech and drive continued improvement as your management system matures. So talking about management systems, I mentioned earlier about the Annex SL format. So it can easily be integrated particularly well with ISO 9001 and ISO 27001. So yeah, that's something that I definitely recommend, and to take a look at your existing management system and the standards so you can see how they can be integrated. So yeah, the risks that we've covered in 42001 include security, privacy and quality, among others, and it can help to enhance the effectiveness of your management systems in all of those areas. And finally, it doesn't require an existing management system to implement it. So although I've talked about other ISO standards, you don't have to have an ISO standard to implement this standard. Okay, if you feel that AI is really important for your business, then you can adopt this standard. You don't even have to be certified either. You can just get a copy of the standard, in effect, like a book. I mean, it is a document, it is in black and white. It very clearly stipulates what the requirements are for a robust AI management system, and you can just simply adopt it. And I'll be explaining very shortly how you can implement the standard. So you don't necessarily need to achieve certification if you don't want to. That could be something that you might consider at a later stage. Okay. And the standard isn't intended to replace or supersede any other existing quality, safety, or privacy standard, such as ISO 27701, the data privacy standard, or any other existing management system standards. Okay. So we're going to look at implementing ISO 42001 then. Okay. Now then, before we do that, I've just got one quick question to ask. Obviously, you've heard about some of the reasons for implementing 42001 and the high level overview of it. I've just got one more question to ask on a poll, if that's okay. Are you interested in getting any further information on 42001? Because I'm conscious of the fact I've only provided a very high level overview of that, and you might want more information, which our colleagues at GSDC can send over to you. So I'll just repeat that. So are you interested in getting any further information on the standard on ISO 42001? And it's a simple yes, no answer. I'll just give you a moment to answer that. Okay. I think most people have answered that now. Just give you another moment. Okay, great. So it looks like 93% would like some further information on ISO 42001. Okay, that's great. And 8% no. Okay, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so thanks very much for that. That's something that GSDC will be able to provide support with. So appreciate that. Okay, so let's look at how to implement ISO 42001. So I'm going to take you on a journey. It's a 7-step journey, which is founded on the principles of ISOlogy. So this is a proven methodology for successfully implementing ISO standards, and I'm going to be talking specifically about implementing 42001 for you today. So this is a 7-step approach that takes you from the planning through to discovery, exposure, create, that's where you create your AI management system, to launching it effectively, so in communicating that, having a communications plan, and looking at engagement, how you can best demonstrate engagement and compliance, and then finally review before you're ready for an assessment. Now, some organisations may simply be interested in the plan and discovery. So just to understand exactly where you're at in relation to AI. So using it as a model to benchmark against best practice. That would be up to step 2. Expose is when you really get under the skin and you're carrying out the risk assessments that are required specifically for this AI standard. Create is obviously where you're creating your AI policy, your AI risk assessments and controls. And again, you may wish to leave it at that. Or if you've gone to the trouble of creating it, then obviously it's worthwhile communicating it, because otherwise nobody's going to know about it. So you may just decide to go to that stage. But if you are looking to go for certification, then you will need to go through all 7 stages, because all of these areas are key requirements when it comes to the stage 1 and stage 2 assessment. Okay, so let's break down those stages in a bit more detail. So planning. the first thing that you would do is identify, what is your scope? Okay, what are your goals? What are your aspirations? What would you like to achieve? Okay, so the scope of your AI management system needs to take into consideration your key stakeholders and whether you're going to include certain locations, services, products. Okay, so if you're a large multinational organization, it may be that you're going to focus in on a particular area of the organization because that's where you feel that there is a greater risk and we need greater control. Other organisations may decide that they want to include the entire organisation, which could take slightly longer. And that's where you may have not just a 6-month plan, but maybe 1 year, 2 year, 3 year plan for rolling this out globally. Okay, it really does depend on your capacity and resources that you've got available, which then leads me on to leadership commitment. Okay, you can't implement this standard without key decision makers at the top saying, yes, we want to understand what our risks and opportunities are associated with AI, and we want to develop controls to mitigate that risk. So that leadership commitment is essential, okay, to the kickoff. Otherwise, we're wasting time there. So they need to show up, they need to demonstrate their commitment to AI and acting responsibly as an organisation. If you're looking at going down the certification route, then obviously you need to get a quote from a certification body as well. And again, it needs to be a reputable certification body that are accredited by an IAF approved body. IAF is the International Accreditation Forum. So, for example, in the UK, it's UCAS, United Kingdom Accreditation Service, that accredit the certification bodies. Step 2 is discovery. So this is where you can identify your current practices. So it's great to see that some organisations have already got an AI policy in place. Okay, that's only a starting point though, really. Sorry, it looks like somebody's drawing on the screen. I don't know where that squiggle came from or whether I did that accidentally. Maybe it was an AI bot coming in and doing that. I don't know. But anyway, slight distraction there. So in terms of understanding what you've currently got, that's where I would ask each department, oh, it's disappeared, thank you. Ask each department what you've got in place in terms of AI controls. And they might look at you in a funny way and say, what AI controls? So it might be better starting with asking the question, how are people within the team using AI? Okay. And they may not be aware that they are actually using AI. And I say that because AI is in almost everything now. It's in, Netflix. It's reading, the kind of the patterns and how we select items and that sort of thing. So it's worthwhile identifying how you're currently using AI as a business, and then looking at controls that you may have in place and mapping those against the requirements of the standard. So the best way to be able to see where you're at in relation to compliance with the standard is to conduct a gap analysis. So this will very clearly pinpoint areas where your organisation falls short. Okay, so you may find that actually the gap is minimal, okay, that you're actually meeting 80% of the standard, which is fantastic, and there's another 20% to go, which is great because it's all about raising the bar, raising your standards. And hopefully, even just from this webinar, you'll be able to take away some useful points to then go back and question within your organisation that you may not have considered before. But the gap analysis really does help you to understand what the standards requirements are, because you're then thinking about the different controls, risk assessments, for example, which you may not have done before. So that really does help you from a CPD perspective to understand about the standard. And then we've got the expose stage. So this is all about getting under the skin of identifying the risks and opportunities, both internally and externally. Now, typically, we would recommend doing a SWOT, which is a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats exercise. Okay, so you can identify all the strengths associated with using AI, where your greatest threats and risks are. So how are your competitors using AI? Okay. What is the risk of you not using AI as an organization? And then looking at PESTLE, that enables you to look at the external influencing factors. So PESTLE is the acronym for political, economical, social, technological, environmental and ethical, and legal. So this is where we bring in the legal requirements, looking at ethics associated with AI. That should be embedded within your AI policy. And numerous other things like use of social media and that sort of thing. So identifying interested parties. So we need to understand who you're sharing information with in relation to AI, and that could also include clients. Moving on to step 4, the create stage. So once we've understood where the gaps are and what we need to do in order to bridge those gaps, we then need to take the information from the risk assessments that we've just completed as well on looking at our risks and opportunities to then start creating the necessary policies and procedures. Okay. So you will already have some of these in place if you've already got an ISO standard, but certain controls include things like controls on AI principles, data governance, risk management, and also transparency as well. So I think that it's always useful to have clearly defined roles and responsibilities when it comes to AI. So who's your go-to person? Do you have a team, an AI team? So at Blackmore's, we identified some AI champions within the business that could conduct some research and provide some training for us internally on how we can use it and how we're currently using it. That could be included on the job description, for example, so it's really clear in terms of roles and responsibilities. And also, if you are communicating your AI policy, what are the do's and don'ts of using AI for your employees? Okay, so some employees in certain departments, which could be marketing, for example, may use AI extensively, whereas others, you may have restrictions on the use of AI, which could be finance, for example. So all of this is dealt with via the risk and impact assessment as well. This helps to define the processes that are needed in order to be able to mitigate risks across your organisation. So I would like to say, though, you don't need a lot of policies and procedures. There's a minimal requirement within the standard where it says shall, but that doesn't stop you from extending that. And we have seen some great cases of businesses going above and beyond ISO 42001. This is helps you to provide a robust framework, that structure and what the minimum policies and procedures should be. But don't let that hold you back. If there are specific controls or if you want to be more granular in terms of work instructions or guides, then that's entirely up to you. Obviously, we've got controls on data quality and also security. And interestingly, we've got a requirement there for the AI system lifecycle management. So it's about looking at the entire lifecycle from development to deployment to monitoring and maintenance as well. That's covered in Clause 7. Now, I mentioned earlier that you can just adopt the standard as a benchmark of best practice. But if you really want to get the most value out of having an AI system, I can't stress how important an impactful launch is. So the launch is an opportunity for leadership to once again show up and say, further to our commitment to complying with the international standard ISO 42001, would like to support with this AI management system. And this is, based on our commitment to achieving certification by X date, for example. Even if you're not achieving certification, I think it's just effective governance, and it helps in terms of overall compliance for your business activities and provides assurance for employees, as well as obviously stakeholders involved. So once you've created your AI management system, and by the way, you can call it anything you want. It doesn't have to be called an AI management system. Our clients are integrating AI within existing business management systems, and they're generally branded for their organization. So again, it's entirely up to you how you want to brand and publish your AI management system. And typically you would have that on, for example, SharePoint, and that would be available and to all employees. You can have it looking like an intranet site as well if you're using Teams channels and that sort of thing. Okay, so you could have a launch plan that is either short and sweet, or you could have it extended and have a constant drip feed of information. So top tips, for example, or you could have an AI awareness week. It's entirely up to you. So this is where it's worthwhile providing training and awareness for employees on the standard and on your own ethical AI practices and how you manage data within your organisation. So should you wish to go for certification, it's important that you can demonstrate compliance to the standard. And the way that you do that isn't just through having an AI policy and some nice looking procedures, it's looking at the results of that. So it's looking at the effectiveness of the systems that you've implemented within your organisation. So in order to be able to do this, you need to have monitoring and measurement systems to monitor the AI performance, and also good old internal audits. Okay, so I noticed that GSDC are providing training on this. So if you're looking to do internal audits in this area, then that's something that you can speak to them about. And again, internal audits are going to be similar to any other ISO standard, but you're looking through the AI lens in this particular case. So typically you'd have an internal audit schedule where all of the audits have been planned to cover all clauses of the standard across your locations, products and services. And this is a great way to be able to test if the system is actually working, if it's effective, if it's mitigating risk, because that is the whole point of this. There isn't any point whatsoever in adopting an AI standard if you're not going to meet it. Okay, the whole point of having this standard is to protect your organisation and your stakeholders. So why wouldn't you want to prove that that is working? So this is proving governance and due diligence around AI management within your business. And then finally, step 7. So this is the review. Okay, so prior to an assessment, you need to conduct a management review meeting. So this helps you to identify, basically there's a list of things that you need to include in management review. And what we need to do is look at the performance, the overall performance of your AI management system. So at that stage, we're looking at the results of your non-conformities and corrective actions, because no system is perfect, especially not in its infancy when it first begins. Continual improvement, how are you adopting that? Looking at the results of your internal audits, legal compliance, and obviously management review in terms of the effectiveness of the system. And this is a good opportunity to be able to finalise all of those outstanding actions from the gap analysis to ensure that everything is in place, ready for the stage 1 and stage 2 assessment. So that's it from me. Thank you very much for listening. I am available for questions and answers, and I believe we've got a gamification session to look forward to as well. So yeah, more than happy to answer any questions, and my contact details are here as well.
Thank you so much, Mel. It was very insightful session. So I'll just quickly go through the questions. So first question is AI ISO 42001 is for what? Has it approved all or all in the process? I am aware of ISO standards such as ISO 27001 for information security management and ISO 27001 for privacy information management. The question is asked by Victor.
Oh, sorry, there was just a bit of interference then. Can you still
Ye-
hear me?
Yeah, I'll just take it again. So is AI ISO 42001 is for what? Has it approved or in the process? I am aware of ISO standards such as ISO 27001 for information security management and ISO 27001 for privacy information management.
Yeah, it has been an approved standard. I think that is the question there. It can be integrated with 27001 and 27701. So yeah, so basically the standard has been approved by ISO and I think it was the IEC as well. I hope that's answered the question. Sorry, there's a bit of interference halfway through it.
Yes. So the next question is, in what ways mentioned in ISO 42001 does the product deal with the ethical aspects of AI systems?
Yeah, there is a section on ethical use actually of the standard. So that's I can't remember which clause it is, but if you'd like to send me the details of that person, I can get that. I haven't got that like literally to hand, or I could have put it in the chat actually. Um, yeah, if you just bear with me 1 second. Yeah, no, sorry, I haven't got that literally to hand to put on the chat, but that's something I can send over. Um, there is a section at the beginning in terms of the other definitions, and also basically you need to take into consideration ethics on the context part. So you know when I mentioned about looking at the external influencing factors as well, I mentioned about environmental and ethical in there. So there are specific requirements within the standard around the ethical use, and it's in the core principles of the standard.
Mhm. So next question is the ISO standard not covering the same elements as the information management systems? So this question is asked by Advocate Nandifa.
Is that in relation to ISO 27000? I heard information systems there. I think if you mean in information security management systems, ISO 27001, the core structure is the same. So Annex SL is the same. Sorry, yeah, Annex SL is the same in terms of clauses 4 to 10. You know, I mentioned earlier on from, you know, planning down through to clause 10 on continual improvement. But the standard itself is quite different. So I mean, the main areas where it's different really is on the operational controls, which is very different to 27001. And you tend to find that on information security management, all of the controls are in Annex A, whereas the annexes for this standard is more useful for guidance. And the main controls in operations in clause 8, I believe it is, which let me just bring that up, is yeah, AI risk assessment, AI risk treatment, AI system impact assessment. So it's similar in a way, I guess, to the risk assessments in information security standard, but you should definitely not use the same one because there are specific controls that you're expected to take into consideration, both in clause 8 and also clause 6 in the planning stage as well.
So, a question from L. Since we have some AI related regulations published, so how would AI 42001 auditor accept an organization to put the controls around this?
How would a 42,001 auditor?
Yeah,
Sorry, can you just repeat that again?
how would a ISO 42001 auditor expect an organization to put the controls around us?
Hmm. Well, the standard makes it very easy. If it says shall, the auditor will expect to see some evidence of compliance there. Okay, so wherever the standard says, and it's in that respect, it's the same as any other ISO standard. Okay, so um, if an auditor is covering, for example, AI policy, and the standard says you shall have an AI policy, then that is what the auditor will expect to see. You have to remember, an auditor is not an implementer, so they will be expecting the company to have done this. If it's your own company and you're the auditor, then obviously you can't really audit your own work. And there does need to be some impartiality there. But yeah, in terms of like monitoring, measurement, and continual improvement, you just need to refer to the standard and ask for the evidence in place. So have you completed an AI risk assessment? Okay, can you show me that? You can use reference to the annex for risk assessments in the standard as well. And you'll just simply be able to report it as whether it's compliant, whether it's a minor or major non-conformity or an OFI, an opportunity for improvement.
So next question is from Jem again. That is, what are the top management metrics or KPIs, etc., related to the AI that an auditor would expect in an organization?
Okay. I mean, KPIs are going to be different in each organisation. So the KPIs at Blackmores are going to be very different to any other company. But in terms of best practice, if they're looking for some examples of what some AI KPIs could be, again, it will depend on the risk assessment because, first of all, once you've done the risk assessment, you'll identify where the gaps are. You'll also identify where the opportunities are and also where the controls need to be from the risk assessment. So, in terms of KPIs, as an example, you could say, okay, so again, remember in terms of objectives, they need to be smart, so specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So, a good example of an AI, if the company is starting from zero here, there would be a KPI to raise awareness on AI. So that there could be a KPI or an objective to improve awareness across the organisation by X date by provide training on X. So it could be AI awareness or an introduction to ISO 42001. Okay. Another KPI could be to implement controls to monitor and measure use of effective AI. Again, you have to set the time frame and also in terms of what the key deliverables are. Is it by function? Is it by the entire organization? Is it a specific team that's responsible for AI? So yeah, then and also obviously you need to be able to look at breaches in terms of non-conformities and use of AI. So if an organization has a mature AI system, there could be a KPI about the reduction of the number of breaches and non-conformities around AI. So I would suggest that it does depend on the level of maturity of the AI system. That will help you to deduce what your AI KPIs should be. But you will get a lot out of the gap analysis and the risk assessment. That's where you'll be able to specifically identify what the KPI should be for your organisation. And again, I think good management of KPIs, typically you'd have the KPIs over a 12-month period, but then you can break them down into 90-day sprints, okay, to make it more manageable. And then you can have monthly, potentially even weekly reporting objectives around that and making that transparent to the appropriate people as well. So leadership can see how quickly you're meeting those objectives and to make progress. But that could be part of a longer term strategy over, say, 3 to 5 years.
Mhm.
Sorry,
So,
long-winded answer to that one
no problem. So
on
next
KPI,
question
something
is,
I'm really passionate about. Sorry.
yes. So next question is from Juhi. Does this ISO 42001 include policies for ML, deep learning, neural networks, or NLP as well? Or this would be different?
I don't think there's anything there on NLP. Was it specifically relating to the policy?
Yeah, it includes, like she's asking, it includes for policies for ML, deep learning, neural networks, or NLP as well, or this would be different.
I think
Like,
that will
does
come
this?
out in your risk assessment. There isn't a specific requirement of that in clause 5.2, which is the AI policy. But you do need to reference your control objectives and controls for establishing that. So if, for example, deep learning NLP was identified in your risk assessment as a control that you need to have in place. Again, remember this is a risk-based assessment and each organisation's risks will be different. But there is more information on that in the annexes. That's where I'd recommend that you go to look for that.
Mhm.
But in
So,
the actual requirement for an AI policy, it doesn't specifically reference that as a specification.
okay, so we have got next question from Alexander. That is, what is NXLSL?
Oh, Annex SL. It's back in, I think it was about 2015, standards that were created by ISO. It was basically decided that there needed to be a common framework, which would then help other companies implementing other standards to integrate them more seamlessly. So that's where you've got those common clauses from 4 to 10, and they basically highlight the specific requirements around planning, resources, continual improvement, monitoring and measurement. Um, so there are basically 6 common clauses across all of those standards, and it's just referenced as MXSL because that was the first kind of time that it was recognised that we needed to have a common framework across all international management system standards. So that applies to, let's say, a lot of organisations will have a system that covers quality, environment, health and safety, information security, business continuity. They're the top 5 ISO standards globally. I have done a podcast on this about which are the top standards internationally. That was closely followed by ISO 50001, the energy management standard as well. But what that basically means is that an organisation doesn't have to have separate manuals. You don't have to have separate systems. You have one business management system to manage your business. And again, what you call that is entirely up to you. So we've personalised ours at Blackmore's. We call it H2O, how to operate. And we always recommend personalising it for your own business. And again, we've actually done a podcast on this where I'm interviewing Sarah Ball on. It's called What's in a Name, and that does help with the branding. It's that sense of, I think for all organisations, if you want people to adopt something new, you need to give them that sense of belonging, and that also having a sense of being empowered to take responsibility for the management system. So Annex SL acts as the vanguard for all the other ISO standards. It brings them together into one common set of requirements. Hope that answers the question.
Yes, so we'll take a quickly last question. So it is asked from Victor, like how will ISO 42001 enhance performance management in an organization?
Yeah, so I think it's a good question. It's quite a difficult one to answer, how it can enhance an organization's performance. I think when AI is used in the right way, it could enhance performance exponentially. You just need to manage the risks that go with it and be prepared for mitigation of risks along the way. And I think it's important to remember to be the master of AI, not the servant. So I think providing you're in control of that and you're going into it with your eyes wide open, I think there is opportunities to significantly improve productivity and profitability using AI effectively and ethically.
Mhm. Yes, thank you very much, Mel, for answering this question. I hope this will do the needful. So yes, before we move forward, like with the gamification session, so would you like to add any last statement for this session?
I would just like to say thank you very much, for enabling me to be able to share some insights into ISO 42001. It is a very new area for many organisations, although AI has been around for some time. I don't think we've necessarily recognised it as a tool to enhance a business or even look at the risks that it presents to an organisation. So all I'd like to say is, for all our delegates today to embrace it, not be too scared of it, and to use it for your advantage and to capitalize on it as an asset for your organization. But yeah, if anybody has any specific questions or would like to find out more information, then please don't hesitate to get in contact with me. We've got a team of experts on this standard who are a lot more knowledgeable than me on this standard, so they would be happy to have a chat as well with any of the delegates if they've got any questions to ask.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. So, yes, everyone, please stay connected with us. We'll soon start the gamification session. So I would like to hand over and welcome my colleague, Miss Setulu, to take this forward.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Anjali, and thank you, Mel. That was such an amazing session, so insightful. Thank you again for being with us here. We'll quickly move here to the gamification session. And Mel, if you're also interested, if you have time, please do participate with us in the game. We will be having a winner. One winner will get the chance to get an exam voucher worth of $800. So if you are looking forward to it, then please play it. I am sharing the link to the game here. Also would like to give a quick shout out to our partner Novel Vista, who work on this gamification platform, who have collaborated with us for this, and again they have provided this platform for us for this game. So thank you so much for this. I have shared the link on the chat box. You can click on that and you can go ahead and log in or sign up. If you already have your credentials, you can go ahead and log in. If you do not have your credentials, then just sign up. If your email is not working, if it is already utilized, then you can either go for a forgot password, or you can go for a dummy email as well. So that will also work. But just make sure that your first name and last name is correct so that we can recognize you if you win this game. Session ID is 1875. It's already shared on the chat box. Please do have a look. Once you go ahead, don't click on the play button right now because we haven't started yet. But once you see this screen, you will see the game that we are going to play is Stack of Coins. And if you do not see this game, you can just click on your profile on the top right of your screen and go to assign new session. So on the assign new session, you have to click on 1875. So the session ID is 1875. You have to click there in order to get your session assigned there. So I'm just starting the registration for the game. You can sign in and you can see the game, which would be Stack of Coins. If you are facing an issue, just leave us your comment on the chat box. We will guide you along. I'll give it around 2 minutes for all of you to sign up. We also have some participants on live. So if you are watching, the link will be shared on the chat box there. You can have a look there and you can join us for this game. Top 3 winners will be getting a chance to get published on our Wall of Fame. and the top winner will get a $800 voucher. Yes, I have just started the registration. You can start checking on the game. You can click on play and you will enter the lobby. So you can come to the screen here on Zoom to see whether you have joined the lobby or not, if in case you are facing any issue on your end. Yes, Ravi Shankar, you say you are unable to log in. If you can tell me what problem exactly you are facing, then I can help you with that. If you are having problem with signing up, you can just use a dummy email. Just make sure that your email, that your first name and last name is correct, and also the session ID, that is 1875. Yes, session ID is 1875, Carlos. If you get an error that account already exists, that means that you have already played this, so your credentials are already created. But yeah, I understand you might have forgotten the credentials, so you can just go and sign up and then enter a dummy email there. So the game is Stack of Coins, ISO 42001. If you are not getting this game, you can click on your profile picture here on the top right. If you can check your Zoom screen, it is shown here on the top right. You can click and you can click on the assign new session. So assign new session, on that you have to enter 1875. Then you will get the game to this ISO 42001. So we have quite a few players here. I'll give you some few more minutes before we begin. We still have around 7 minutes until the session is over. So I'll give it another 2 minutes for people to sign in. Yes, great. All right, so about the game, what that is stack of coins. You will be having few stack of coins, and all the coins are according to different points. If you get the correct answer in your first try, you get 100 points. If not, the second try gives you 50 points, the third try gives you 25 points, and the last try, there are no last try. So you can have an opportunity to gather your points there. Okay, you can use a dummy email, Ravi Shankar. Just try abc@gmail.com, 123 abc, something like that. We'll give it another few seconds and then we'll start the game. If you miss out on the game, then don't worry. You can participate on another game, on another session. We'll be having another session on another topic this month itself. My colleague will let you know about that. All right, so I'll just do a countdown and we'll begin here in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So I have started the quiz. You will start seeing your questions there. If you want to see the leaderboard, you can find it here on the Zoom screen. I'm sharing my leaderboard here. The game will be for 3 minutes. I have started the timer. 3 minutes game. You can take your time in answering the correct questions. I believe you get 15 questions there, and you can gather your points accordingly. First answer gives you 100 points, second gives you 50, third gives you 25. And please do not refresh your browser, as that would refresh the whole game for you. Also, I would like to request whoever wins to just unmute yourself and give us a quick takeaway about the game, about the session. That would be really great for us. Okay, so I see some of you are facing some issues. It would be great if you can send us if you can take a screenshot and email it to us, so that we can identify what the error exactly was, and of course, apologies for the issue that you are facing. We will do our best to fix that on our next session as well. we'll definitely give everyone equal chance to win. So don't worry about that. Thank you, Segun, for attending. I'll see you. All right, we have 1.5 minutes until we finish this quiz. And I see a lot of you are doing really well. We have Juhi on top of the leaderboard with a very high score. So I believe all the rest have to step up your game to beat her. Yes, Ravi Shankar, I'm so sorry, but we have started the game, so you cannot register now. But yeah, as I said, we will be playing this game again on the next session. Please join us then. And yeah, again, so sorry for the inconvenience caused to you. You can email us with the error that you are receiving so that we can fix that issue for the next game. Okay, so I will do the countdown and stop the quiz. If you haven't finished it yet, then please hurry up. I will begin in 10. All right, beginning the countdown now in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And ending the quiz here. Then, yes, congratulations to all three of you. I have Juhi on the first place. You have won the $800 word voucher from us. Juhi, I would like to request you to please share your inputs here. Would you like to share with us? And congratulations to Pavitra and Beloved as well. Yes, do I have Juhi on the call? Or anyone else? Pavitra, would you like to share your takeaways? I have, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, this is Pavitra.
Hi. How was the
Hi.
game for you?
It was interesting. It was like a rapid fire round. I really loved it. This is the first time I'm attempting this, and I really loved it. And best wishes to Juhi over there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your sharing. And yeah, again,
And
Juhi.
it was very
Yes.
well organized as well. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's very helpful for us. Okay, I believe I have Juhi as well here. Would you like to share your takeaways? Yes. Hello, Juhi.
Hi
Hi.
everyone. Yeah, so I would say the content was really nice, and I can follow each and every slide which was explained by Mel. Although I have a good interest in artificial intelligence, so that's why I found the quiz also very interesting. And yeah, I really enjoyed the whole session. It was awesome. Thank you. Thanks for all the insights, and thanks for answering the questions as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Juhi. Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful sharing. And again, we'll connect with you for your prize, and we will talk then. Again, thank you to everyone for playing. I will hand over the time to my colleague Anjali again to do the closing of this. And again, we'll see you for another session for this game. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Setulu, for organizing this gamification. So yes, our next webinar, that is GSDC Global Generative AI and Risk Compliance, will be scheduled for 23rd, 29th, and 30th of July with these amazing speakers. So the timing for 23rd July will be, that is 9:30 p.m. SGT, 9:30 a.m. CST, and 7 p.m. IST, and rest another days, that is 29th and 30th of July, will be the same timing. So please do join, and do invite your colleagues and friends for the same time. And thank you very much for attending this webinar. Please do join our LinkedIn groups. You can check our website for our certifications and ISO 42001 certifications as well. Kindly share your session takeaways and learning outcomes on our Trust Pilot. Thank you very much.